All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Brandon Carter, who is one of the American Shakespeare Center actors, is here to tell us a little bit about his acting background. And then, of course, too, in COVID, we've had to kind of adjust some of our public gatherings and find unique ways to perfect our craft. So with that soft intro of your current profession, Brandon, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Hey, Lindsay, thanks for having me, and hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm originally from Virginia. I'm a native of Virginia, from the northern neck of Virginia, and I say that's the greatest place on earth. And
yes, best ginger ale, for sure.
Yeah. So I went to Longwood University for my undergrad in theater, and then I moved on to Penn State for my master's in theater, and then did the New York thing for about 5 years. And I was off Broadway and drunk Shakespeare and Black Angels Over Tuskegee and a few other shows. And throughout that journey, I kind of, I've always wanted to work at the American Shakespeare Center here in Stanton. So it was always like in the back of my head, but I had to come home for family issues. So I actually auditioned at that time and was able to come on here at the American Shakespeare Center, where I've been doing classical work for 2 years. But I've been in the profession doing many Shakespeare plays for about 10. So, yeah, I just, I'm here just living my dream. I say I'm in the dream, and, you know, I'm able to work full time as an actor and hone my craft and do that thing. So many folks aren't able to work in a repertory. It's usually like kind of, you know, it's hard to get into. So I was fortunate enough to get into American Shakespeare Center. So, yeah.
Well, what do you think too? Because you mentioned luck is part of it. Like, there's so many talented people that want to pursue performing arts. What do you think were some ways that you kind of got an advantage? Was there a mentor, somebody that advocated for you? Did you put in some extra effort that you felt like over your peers before auditions? Like, what was that differentiator?
Well, here's the thing, Lindsay. I say in my earlier days, I'd probably say, like, you know, I was the best. I was the best one for the job, you know, but I think in hindsight, I think, you know, just staying at it, you know, I think that my profession is you are more successful by sticking to it. You know, the first time that you give up is when the job would come, you know, like, oh, I'm done with acting. I'm, you know, whatever. But, you know, you have like people like Morgan Freeman, for instance. He did Lean on Me, and he was in Coriolanus in the 80s, but he was like in his 40s. You know, think of if he had said no, he would have, you know, you wouldn't have seen him in his 40s. You know, you wouldn't have seen him at all. So like, it's just by sticking. And I say that's what I think part of my success, if that's what you want to call it, is by just working hard and going at it every day. And you get better. I mean, I think the talent thing or whatever is so overrated, because I think a lot of the people that you see on screen, you know, they probably were talented, but the skill is what you're seeing, you know, you just got to keep digging at it, and you get better from experience and skill. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what are some things that helped you be resilient? Because like you said, it's going for that next audition, or like being okay hearing no 20 times before you get your first yes. Like, what is it that really helped you stick with it and, you know, endure that?
Well, my family, my dad kicking me in my ass, and my
Really fine. We're all good here. Yeah. Real talk.
Yeah. I mean, real talk. I mean, just family and really myself. I mean, you know, you're in New York and you don't have money and stuff, and you know, the walls are crashing in and stuff. And, you know, the only thing really you have in those moments are yourself. So, you know, just banking on and leaning on the fact that you know that you're good enough. That's not an issue. You know, it's just not the right time for you, because you have the game of acting. It should actually be called auditioning, because you audition 95% of the time, and then the 5% is you working the job. So, you know, it's you know, I always tell like students that I teach, or you know, friends, I just, you know, after you audition, you need to go and treat yourself. So like, you know, just to take your mind off it, because you need to go see the movie that you wanted to see, just to treat yourself. And because otherwise you're just going to sit there, beat up yourself. Like, I did a horrible job. I'm like, I'm the worst actor, I'm the worst, and that goes for anything, and just not just acting, but, treat yourself after the bigger moments, because you do deserve it. You have to celebrate the good moments, not beat yourself up after them. You are your own toughest critic. That's the cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like too, like coming from my psychology background, like positive reinforcement, right? Like when you're doing things that are helping advance your career or moving you in the direction that you want to go, it's really important to figure out ways to reward yourself or to make sure that that effort is recognized before you move on to the next thing.
Right. Psychology, huh? Shoot, you're sitting here judging me. The two are just like, they're combined.
Just have the undergrad, have a basic grasp of how we develop. That's it. Don't worry. I'm not going to go all psychoanalytical on you. Not capable of that. So, but yeah. So tell us too, like you mentioned that you've been in New York, you came back to Stanton and Virginia, partly for family, but also for this unique opportunity. What are some of the places that you've worked and some of the things that you've really enjoyed about those unique spaces? Because I know you've got quite a catalog of performances here.
Yeah, I'll highlight a couple of them. Right after graduate school, well, kind of in the transition, we commissioned Dominique Morisseau for our Penn State School of Theater program to write us a play for our thesis. We had the option of doing independent study or combining our money to bring people or whatever, but we decided to have Dominique write the play, and then we blah, 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 I don't have the words for that. We made our own theater company, and we kind of appointed people that would do the managing and the certain little things that we needed for travel and stuff. But we ended up raising about $100,000 in a year or so. We went to South Africa twice. We went to Scotland to the Adelaide Fringe Festival, and in South Africa, back to that, it was the National Arts Fest and the Grahamstown Arts Fest. And then we went to the Kennedy Center where we won an award. I keep backtracking. And then in Adelaide, Australia, we won an award there, the Peace Foundation Award, for the work that we did there. And then we brought it back to New York. So the tour was about 2 or 3 years, which was kind of my introduction into New York. And we ended up closing it at the National Black Theater in Harlem, New York. So that was kind of my favorite out of my whole career. But I think that was kind of something that catapulted me into New York and the profession, because generally you have to go and bust your tail, which is something I did. I've been doing that, but that kind of gave me the exposure that I needed and landed me in sort of a residential thing in the Classical Theater of Harlem, where I was for 3 years, and did The Tempest. And this sounds so boring, but I'm so excited. I love this. The journey, it sucks because it's like, it's easy to, the journey is fun, but it's not so easy to talk about. But it's like, I'm thinking of the time, like just the hard times in between. But, I did three years with them. And then, what was the other thing? Jeez, now, you got me thinking now.
Now I'm old. Some time in Richmond too?
Yeah, I was in Richmond. I did the Virginia. I was one of the first Black men to play Shakespeare in Shakespeare in Love in Richmond, and that was kind of my come home. Like, I'm back home, y'all, and did that for a year. And there's something else I did that I can't remember, but I did Drunk Shakespeare, and that was kind of. I know that. that was interesting. That was just one of those things that gave me a little bit of exposure too, but it was just silly, but it really prepared me for where I am now, the Blackfriars, because here at the American Shakespeare Center, we talk about original practices, and that's, we try to do the plays how and honor how Shakespeare would have done them back in the day in his company. The Renaissance season, it was directorless, and you were in charge of the costumes, you were in charge of everything. But when I was at Drunk Shakespeare in New York, the thing that prepared me for here was the groundlings. So you would have the shows and you would have the drunk actor, and you would do Macbeth. And the other four actors, there were five actors, the other four actors would try to keep the show on the rails. So wherever the drunk actor went, whatever bit he wanted to create, or she, they would just bring it back. So you would have
Can you slow down? Let's just time out here. I think I know what you're talking about, but in case folks are tuning in and haven't heard of Drunk Shakespeare, like give us a 30-second overview of that performance setting.
5 actors, 1 drunk actor. The show is Macbeth, and the drunk actor has to get through the show without taking it off the rails. The drunk actor has some power. So you can stop the show and be like, hey, I want you to do your special skill. I want you to do a headstand while chugging a beer or something like that. But before all of that, the actor takes 4 shots of alcohol of his or her choosing, and you just do the show. But yeah, so yeah, that was it. But the main thing about that, there was a point there. The main thing about that is that the groundlings there, you had 2 shows, and then the 8 o'clock show was there for like people pre-gaming before they went out for the night, and then the 10 o'clock show was for people that were just coming in after their night, so they were like wild and loud and whatnot. But they were the most, that's how I imagine Shakespeare's language to be. Like they were the language is so muscular that you have to, it propels you over people that might be yelling at you. Oh, you suck. Oh, you like, I don't know what you mean, like blah, blah, blah. But they're also beautiful enough to like stop you where you are and bring you in. Like there are some speeches that would just bring everybody to dead silence in their drunken stupor. And I just learned to appreciate it and at that place of all places, because it's just how they were. Like you didn't have people quiet at the theater and doing that stuff. That's more, I don't know. There's certain things, I'd say, like there are certain things in life, in my career, it's more spiritual than anything. There's certain moments that like, I'm here for this reason. I'm here, I need to learn this moment. And it's all for some bigger purpose. And I don't want to get into like God or religion and stuff, but like, it's true. Like in my profession, it's just like, this is what led me to get to this place, to do this role, or this is somebody in this audience that needs to hear it. So I don't know. I'm going off the rails, but
no, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of answered your question.
It definitely answered my question. But I think we'll kind of piggyback on that too. Like you've had these moments that have crystallized, like this experience is preparing me for what lies ahead. Or do you feel like, let me slow down. Do you realize that those experiences are preparing you in the moment? Or sometimes is it when you get to that place that it prepared you for, you recognize what the past was getting you ready for? Like, is it foresight? Is it hindsight? Like, where are these epiphanies coming?
Well, me, I'm always trucking. So I'm always like, I'm not smelling the roses. I'm not doing, not until recently. I'm 33 and I just kind of like, now I'm like, oh, hey life. Hey, what's up? But I know I've been doing the right things and whatnot, but now to me, it's like bubbles. So I think it is in the moment. It's like your body unconsciously sets you up, so you've been doing these motions and these habits, and then you knock into something, and then that thing reminds you of that moment 5 or 6 years ago. So I think I'm like, I find that, I'm realizing them in the moment now, and then that leads me on a rabbit hole down to the things I was learning that I didn't know I was learning, like, but like going on stage, there was a moment in New York on Black Angels Over Tuskegee on off Broadway. And I was thrown in as an understudy, and they were like, hey, you have a week to learn this. Come see the show. You can't call for line or anything. This is like a professional show. So I go on, and I'm sitting there like blank for like a couple minutes. Like it's 30 seconds in the theater is a long time. And, and then after it's like, oh, okay, well that sucked, but after that step, I was never afraid to be on the stage again. You kind of get blinded by the lights, and then you become stronger after each thing, I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I know you said, I don't know, I'm a pinball brain, so like we can take all these different tangents.
Me too. I'm like, oh, I hope everybody at home is not like, what is he talking about?
Totally fine. And if they're not interested, great thing about YouTube is they can move on. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we really try to work with students is not just connecting with their skills, but you mentioned religion, and we really like to help students identify their values, because we feel like a lot of times when people find meaningful work or are struggling to find meaningful work, it's because they're not utilizing their skills or their values, or both. And so tell us, like, how has religion really helped you identify what's important to you and what opportunities are worthwhile pursuing professionally, but personally as well?
I think, and I guess I'm speaking more, I'm thinking of who's in school now, and I was raised by my grandparents. So I was kind of raised with my parents' generation. So the folks that are maybe they're turning 60 now, like that generation. And I was always outside, like chopping wood and like doing chores, like very, I'm from Virginia, so very country and very like old school. And I look at the people that I grew up with necessarily who had people my parents' age raising them, and we have a different, I feel like I'm an old man or an uncle of some sort, like in my generation. So I think the things that your grandparents have said to you, or like turn their nose up, or just even like manners in general, I think those things are so important, and they get you in many doors. And I feel like when you lose those things, or the things that have become lost over the years, when you lose those things, it just, I don't know, you become in a place of stasis. You should have those things, and you should have, I don't know, you should be using those things in whatever profession you go into. Like, I think those things, some people are like, I deserve this, I want this now, without doing the hard work and stuff. And I think that has impacted me, how I was raised, and even the things that necessarily weren't taught to me because of where I grew up. Things that I knew that I valued as important were making the right connections, and being polite to everyone I ever meet. You don't ever know who you're gonna meet, and like just those old, I would say, old school values and beliefs. And we could have a religion talk at another thing, but I've always come, I've been through Buddhism, I've been through Hinduism, all of it. I have books over there on my shelf about it. And one thing I've always come back to is God. So like, I think that's to each his own, but I think that's where it's led me. And because of how I was, so me as Southern Baptist, old school values and things like that are not a bad thing at all. And should not be forgotten, should be reviewed. And that's what's helped me kind of get to where I am. And yeah, I guess if that answers your question.
It definitely does. And I'm someone who was raised by a tag team of my parents. And then when my dad passed, I moved in with my grandparents. So I can definitely attest to like the power of knowing, one, your living grandparents, but two, like having a chance to literally live with them, I think really does give us a unique perspective. And it's kind of neat to see too, like all the different generations and how people categorize like boomers and Gen Z and millennials, and to see some of that in my own life. But I think too that we don't all necessarily fit in like one neat little box, right? Like
right.
Picking up values and lessons from all those different age groups. So.
Well, the thing, and I'm going to hit on something real quick before you move to the next question. I think the beautiful thing about our generation is that we have more access than they did. So we can pull up things that we don't know, where they would have to order a book from Sears catalog, or do, it was harder for them to, or go to the library and spend hours like, scrolling through stuff, scrolling through pages. And I think it's learning all you can. And if you don't know something, like, don't be afraid to Google it. Don't be afraid to do these things, but like really learn it. I feel like we are often like, oh, I'll learn it for the gram or for whatever, and then we don't actually become a master of it. I think mastery of whatever you pick up or whatever it is so important. What you do, be an expert, be a master at whatever you are, whatever you're trying to pursue. Learn the ins and outs. It's like, I played soccer when I was in school, so like I would do the season and then I would have indoor soccer. Like those little skills, you need those little short skills, like to be quick, so, think of it like that. Every aspect about your career, learn it and be the best so nobody can top you. And I think, or like, I don't know, you can eventually, like, you can share it, or I don't know. I was trying not to let my cocky side get in, but yeah, learn everything so you can be the best so nobody can best you. How about that? I'll leave it there. Yeah.
There you go. To get to the top, you got to put in some hours. So,
yes, you do. Yeah.
Did you play soccer at Longwood, by the way?
No, I wanted to go to Randolph-Macon to work under a Helmut Werner, I think his name was, but I ended up, they didn't want to pay for me, so yeah, I couldn't go, so I had to go where I could afford. But I went to Longwood. I knew a lot of soccer players there. Did you play soccer?
I did not, but I have a lot of friends that did, and I recently learned that Longwood, although they're kind of a like middle-sized school in the scheme of things, they actually have a D1 soccer program. So just
yeah. There you go, guys. If you want to go soccer, Longwood University and Penn State as well. Just plug in here.
That's right. Take it all in. So while we're talking about mastery, I think, of course, everybody's been impacted by the coronavirus in some way, but you specifically are working at a theater that has decided to close for 2 different seasons, right? That they had scheduled. Yeah. So how did that impact your career, and what are you using some of that time to pursue mastery? Like, what you doing, and how are you impacted by it?
I work at American Shakespeare Center, where we focus on Shakespeare and obscure classical work from the modern era, or early modern era. And when COVID hit, it's like you were speeding down the road at 100 miles per hour and someone just hit the eject button, and you're like, oh, I want to finish the race though, but no, I want to, and I consider me and my team, like, we're emotional athletes. We delve into emotions and whatnot. So it kind of, it was kind of a hit, a really big hit initially. And because of the space and Blackfriars and what it is, it's a special space to not only us, but everyone in the community and stuff. So wondering how that would impact the community and everything abroad. And you run through all those emotions, and then it's like, oh, but I'm not going to be working. Like, like, what is, and then you hear the news and stuff, and it's like, it was more of a rush of emotions at first, but we were able to kind of like get our stuff together and have raised money to enough to be able to teach online classes through Zoom and this medium. And what I've been able to do with Shakespeare's, when I was talking to you about indoor soccer, those are not connected. I was talking to you about soccer and indoor soccer. So if Shakespeare is soccer, the indoor soccer are his sonnets, Shakespeare sonnets. There's 154 of them, and I've been able to kind of do them one by one every day and kind of piece away at them and I don't know, there's different like syntax in them where it's like, well, that doesn't make sense, or the I'm the pentameter, which is the beat in it, is, there's 12 instead of 10 or something like that. And when you're in the rehearsal room and you're trying to figure that out on the spot, it's kind of difficult if you don't really know his language, and it's hard to move on if you haven't done that groundwork. So what I've learned, I think I'm on 21 today or something like that. Like, I've gotten quicker with it. So I'm like, oh, that needs to be stressed. That needs to whatever. And that's just from working from a sonnet. So I've been trying to work on that. And, over the course of since we've been locked down. Yeah. I haven't had my coffee today. That's what it is. I was sitting here like, what is going on? I'm like, pew, pew, pew. I haven't had coffee today. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, since that's happened, it's just really made me focus on like the things that I've been like, hey, I wanted to read this book. There's 10 of them sitting on the shelf. I'm reading those books now. Hey, I've never had time to master this in Shakespeare. Actually look at this, what this rhetorical device is or whatever. What is an auxesis, or, you know, something that Dr. Ralph, who's at Mary Baldwin in the Shakespeare Theater, like, you know, what does that mean that he was talking about? And just really having time to like, just take a deep dive in the abyss of it. And I don't know, do yard work and do, you know, just do the things that make you human. I feel like we get caught up in the rut of things, you know, before Corona hit. You get in the autopilot and you don't actually have a work-life balance. Or, you know, I'm an actor speaking like that, which is not, it's rare for an actor to say that. Like, I'm able to have some life and do that, and even more so during Corona. So it's a blessing to me. I think it's just been a blessing to be able to like sit down with the sonnets, or sit down with some text, or read something and really dig at it. That's what I've been doing. Yeah. And if you want to, here's my shameless plug. If you want to check out my sonnets, Instagram, Mr. Carter is my tag, at Mr. Carter. And just look up, my name's Brandon Carter. Just look me up. I'm there.
Perfect. I'll put a link when I post the video so that they can easily track you.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So be respectful of your time and give you some time for coffee here.
Yeah, thank you.
Final question is, if you were going to be graduating from college right now and trying to enter the creative field, what would be some advice you'd give to a young person?
Wow, that is a very good question. I'm trying to think of my dumb self in college. Like, what was that? Because I was all over the place. I think in the creative field is like, if you're visual artist, or a painter or something like that, you need to go to as many galleries. You need to immerse yourself before you leave to see where you want to be. Because I knew that I always wanted to be home in Virginia at some point, but I've been all over the world, and it's because I didn't decide where I wanted to be. So like, say I want to be in Maryland and I'm in the creative field right now, go take your time and money and whatever else and go to Maryland for a weekend, every weekend for the next 2 months, and check out the area and see the art scene or whatever, and know where you want to be first. And that's going to give you some stability while you're, you know, if you all get into VCU is a big school. You get into VCU, I say, I want to go to Maryland. Go to VCU every weekend, or just go there and just dig in there. And then if you don't like it, you have 4 years to decide. I want to go to Pennsylvania, take a road trip with some friends, go to a bar, and then get into the art scene there. And I feel like the sooner you do that, the sooner you're able to make more steps in the future to where you want to be. You got to think of where you want to start. And that might lead you to other places in your life or career. That might take you to China or whatever. But knowing that before you leave, because the pressure of graduation is going to hit you like a skyrocket, and whatever. It's going to hit you really hard, and you just need some sort of stability or some sort of something. And then networking as much as you can. It does not matter what you think about it. If you have to deal with resumes or whatnot, send them out. Send them out. Just send them. Throw them out in the world. Send them. And like in my profession, for instance, if you're actors out there, look up theaters and just send them your headshot and resume. They're going to be mad. Oh, it's that Brandon again. It's that whatever. But it's like, oh, they're in your, you are in their mind. And that can go for other professions. Like, send it out. We have many different mediums. If you want to go into that medium, be persistent and pluck at it. Just let people know that you exist, that you're here. And that's going to help you a lot right now. Also, save your money. Save
Right.
your money, because you are doing, I talked about religion and God, but you're doing the Lord's work. You are a conduit. If you are going into the creative field, inspiration hits you in different ways, but the money doesn't always. So, save up your money and try to do things that are within your field. So if you are working in the theater, you want to be an actor, work in the box office for a little bit, stay in the field. So, if you want to work in marketing or something like that, be a post woman or man in the same building. Stay in the field, stay around it, because the more, like, I tried to be a bricklayer for a long time, and I was out of the field, even though the process of building a character is the same way, like brick by brick, the craft is the same. It's different, like you become hardened. When in the creative field, you need to be freer. And it's like, I don't know, I'm throwing a bunch of stuff at, but that's things that I wish would be some things I would have thought about before I went out, because I was working backwards. You have to gain a resume and a portfolio and stuff. So work on it. Get as many opportunities as you can. That goes for anything in the creative field. It's just, you have to build something for people to see it and for people to appreciate it. And you have to get a vision, a point of view. That's what I wanted. Develop a mission statement. That's what it is. You need to, before you leave, you need to say, this is what I want. This is how I'm going about getting it. This is, even just type it in Google, look it up. Develop some sort of point of view or some sort of frame of who you are and what kind of art and things that you want to do. And people will see that and take you seriously. Like, you can't, I just want to be an artist. I just want to be an actor. I want to be seen and all this stuff. Have a purpose for why you're doing it, and add that with your resume. Maybe hand that off when you hand that off to your resume. This is what I'm about. If you don't like it, then we're not a right fit. But kind of get a sense. I mean, it's hard to say, like, know who you are before you leave, but you can develop a mission statement. You can have an objective of why you're doing it. And that might actually change your mind or make what part of the field you want to go to more specific. So that just helps get everything more specific. Specificity in the creative field is your best friend. The more specific and simple you can be, the better. So I don't know. I hope that helps. I'm just dumping things, but
Yes, definitely. So making sure that we caught it all. So writing a mission statement, and then have you ever included that on your resume or as part of your application process?
No, I have a website though, and
There we go.
I've taken it down many times because, in the early phases, it's about, in acting, it's about type, and they don't want to hear that. But I wish, that's what I'm saying. Like, if I had said that to my younger self, I wish I had kept that up. And that's what I want to say is, like, put that up on your website, put it, say, like, somebody's going to ask you, you might get a producer or somebody that wants to fund the project that you're doing. Why are you doing this? Why am I giving you all this money? And the first question you would say is, so just know it, like, I'd say, like, have a mission statement, know it. If you have a website, put it on there. If you have, I think what I do on my resume is the career, all the different, like, places that I've worked. I'll put, like, so it'll be like, I worked here from 2010 to 2005 at such and such theater. And then on the bottom, I would have just a quick thing of what I did there, why I was there, like just a little snippet under this section, like your employment history. There you go. Like where, yeah, just the parts of your missions, like things that might connect what you're doing. Like, I was here doing this project, working for underprivileged youths and whatever. And that's part of my statement. So, and then the next career, I was doing the same thing, but in this different way. Try and connect them all to your bigger mission statement, just like a brief snippet in your employment history. If you do your resume that way, but that's not for everybody, but that's what I do. Yeah.
Cool. So get that mission statement, stick to it, figure out where you want to be, or like what industry you're going into, and then get there or as close to there as you can. So maybe that's even like, being a barista across the street from the theater that you want to work in, some way to get your face and name out there. And then don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Share that resume, share that website, promote yourself, and don't give up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Brandon. I will make sure that we link to your Instagram, to the American Shakespeare Center, where folks can see when you guys are coming back live, or connect to Blackfriars TV in the meantime. And we just thank you from Mary Baldwin for being a great partner, man.
Lindsay, thank you so much for having me, and good luck, y'all. Like, it's the sky's the limit. I'm sound like grandpa now, but like, do your thing. Like, for real. Like, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It's what's coming for you will come for you. Will come for you. But are you ready when it comes for you? Does that make sense? So, yeah.
Love it. There's a little bit of that Buddhism coming in. I hear it.
See, it all comes around. But thank you, Lindsay.
All right. Bye, Brandon.